The mysterious discovery. The night was quiet. Only the sound of waves crashing against the shore filled the air. The island was small, covered in thick jungle and sharp cliffs. John had been here for 3 days alone. He came to this island for peace, away from the noise of the world. But tonight, something felt different. As he sat near his small fire, staring at the dark sea, he noticed something strange in the jungle. A soft, blue light flickered between the trees. It wasn't fire. It wasn't lightning. The glow pulsed like something alive. John frowned. "What the hell is that?" he muttered to himself. Curiosity pulled him forward. He grabbed his flashlight and knife, just in case. The island had no other humans. No one should be here. Yet the light continued to glow. Moving carefully, he stepped into the jungle. The thick leaves brushed against his arms. The air was damp, filled with the scent of earth and salt. The sound of insects and distant waves followed him. Then he heard something else. Breathing. It was not human breathing. John stopped. His heart pounded. He raised his flashlight and pointed it toward the sound. And there, half hidden behind a fallen tree, was a woman. But she was not human. A stranger from the stars. She was lying on her side, breathing heavily. Her skin was pale with a faint silver glow. Her hair, long and dark, spread across the ground like spilled ink. Her eyes, half open, shimmered with an eerie blue light, the same glow he had seen in the jungle. She wore a strange, torn suit that looked both high-tech and battle-worn. A small broken device in her hands sparked and flickered weakly. She was injured. A deep cut ran along her leg, and dark, thick blood, not red, but dark blue, stained her clothing. John's breath caught in his throat. This was impossible. She wasn't from Earth. She was an alien. The woman blinked weakly and turned her glowing eyes toward him. Fear flashed across her face. She gripped the broken device tighter, as if trying to use it, but it failed. John took a slow step forward. He raised his hands to show he wasn't a threat. "Hey, I won't hurt you," he said softly. The woman's breathing was uneven. She tried to push herself up but fell back, wincing in pain. She was too weak to run. Then she spoke. A low, musical sound, a language he didn't understand. It was smooth but urgent, like she was warning him. John shook his head. "I don't understand," he said. She looked frustrated. Her glowing eyes darted around, scanning the jungle. Then she pointed behind him. John turned. Something else was here. The jungle was silent now. The insects had stopped. The waves felt distant. A chill ran down John's spine. Something was watching them. He slowly turned his flashlight toward the trees. The beam cut through the darkness. Shadows stretched across the ground. Then he saw movement. A low growl rumbled through the air. John's fingers tightened around his knife. He couldn't see the creature clearly, but he saw its eyes. They were red. A second pair of eyes blinked to life. Then a third. John's heartbeat thundered in his chest. Something big was in the jungle, and it wasn't alone. Fight or run. The alien woman tried to push herself up again, panic flashing in her eyes. She clutched at John's arm, her fingers ice cold against his skin. John swallowed. He had two choices. Run, leave this strange woman and save himself, or help her, and risk facing whatever monsters lurked in the dark. The growls grew louder. Branches cracked under heavy footsteps. John made his choice. He grabbed the alien woman, pulling her arm over his shoulder. She winced in pain but didn't resist. "Come on," he whispered. "We need to move." She didn't understand his words, but she understood his actions. Together, they stumbled into the darkness as the red eyes moved closer. Escape and first contact. The night air was thick with tension. The jungle, once alive with the hum of insects and distant waves, had fallen into a deadly silence. The only sound was the distant growling of unseen creatures. John's muscles tensed as he gripped the alien woman's arm, pulling her up. She was weak, her legs barely supporting her weight, but she understood the danger. Her glowing blue eyes darted around, scanning the darkness. Behind them, the red eyes in the jungle multiplied. 1 set, 2, 5. John's gut twisted. He had no idea what these things were, but their low guttural snarls told him one thing. They were hunting. He whispered urgently, "We need to move. Now." The alien woman didn't understand his words, but she felt his urgency. She tightened her grip on his shoulder, leaning into him as they stumbled through the jungle. John turned off his flashlight. Bad idea. But leaving it on would make them easy targets. His eyes adjusted to the dark as he guided her, stepping carefully over twisted roots and damp leaves. The growls followed. Then, a loud, piercing screech ripped through the jungle. The creatures were getting closer. John felt the alien woman tremble against him. She gritted her teeth and pulled something from her belt, a small metallic device with a broken screen. She pressed a button. Nothing happened. She muttered something in her language. Frustration, fear, he couldn't tell. They had to keep moving. The chase begins. John dragged her deeper into the jungle. His mind raced. The island wasn't big, but there were cliffs to the east and his small hut near the shore. Nowhere to hide. The only option, outrun whatever was hunting them. A branch snapped behind them. Then, a deep, rasping breath, far too large for any normal animal. John's instincts screamed, "Run." He pulled the alien woman with him, his feet pounding against the jungle floor. She gasped, trying to keep up, her body weak but determined. The creatures followed. John could hear them crashing through the undergrowth. Their clawed feet scraped against bark. Their heavy breathing filled the night air. Then one of them leaped. John heard it first. The sudden shift in the air, the whistling sound of something massive lunging forward. He shoved the alien woman down and ducked. A dark shape soared over him, crashing into the trees ahead. Huge, fast, deadly. John barely had time to react before another came from the side. A deep snarl, a flash of glowing red eyes, and a clawed hand swiped at him. He threw himself backward, barely dodging as razor-sharp claws sliced through the air where his head had been. The alien woman raised her broken device, and for a split second, it flickered to life. A sharp, high-pitched pulse shot out. The creatures screeched in agony, their glowing red eyes flickering wildly, as if disoriented. John didn't wait to see what happened next. He grabbed her hand. "Come on." They ran. Through the vines, over the rocks. The jungle blurred as they pushed forward. Then, John saw it. A small cave entrance, barely visible behind thick vines. He didn't hesitate. He dragged her inside. They collapsed against the cold stone wall, gasping for air. Outside, the jungle was still. For a moment, John thought they were safe. Then, he saw the shadows moving outside the cave. The creatures had not given up. First contact. The alien woman was breathing heavily, gripping her injured leg. The blue glow of her blood pulsed softly, her body trying to heal. John turned to her. What the hell were those things? She didn't answer. She couldn't. Instead, she raised her broken device again, pressing a few buttons. This time, it worked. A small holographic display flickered to life. John's eyes widened as he saw what was on the screen. A spaceship, her spaceship, crashed and burning in the jungle. And around it, the same creatures they had just escaped. John exhaled slowly. This wasn't a coincidence. These monsters, they weren't just animals. They had been waiting for her, a desperate choice. The alien woman turned to John, her glowing eyes locked onto his. She pointed at the hologram of the shipwreck, then at him. Then she pointed at herself and at the creatures outside. John understood. She needed his help. She was left behind, alone, injured, and hunted. And now, he was part of this. Outside, the creatures let out a chilling howl. John gritted his teeth. They had to move before it was too late. The crash site, and a deadly truth. John sat against the cold stone wall of the cave, his breath heavy. The alien woman beside him clutched her leg, her glowing blue blood slowly stopping its flow. The jungle outside was still, but the air was thick with danger. They weren't safe. Not yet. The creatures were still out there, hunting, waiting. John glanced at the alien woman's small holographic display, the flickering image of a crashed spaceship deep in the jungle. The creatures had surrounded it, just like they had surrounded them. She pointed at the ship, then at herself. She needed to get there. John frowned. Your ship, it's broken, right? She didn't answer, but the way she clenched her jaw told him enough. She didn't know. Maybe there was something useful there. Maybe a way off this island. Or maybe it was just a graveyard. John exhaled. He didn't want to go deeper into the jungle. Not with those creatures still hunting them. But what choice did he have? The alien woman looked at him. Trust, hope, fear. It was all in her glowing blue eyes. He sighed and reached for his backpack. All right, we go to the ship. She didn't understand his words, but she understood his actions. Her lips pressed into a determined line. She nodded. They moved. The journey to the wreck. They left the cave in silence. The jungle was eerily quiet. No birds, no insects, just the sound of distant waves and the occasional snap of a twig beneath their feet. John led the way, knife in one hand, the other steadying the alien woman when she stumbled. She was still weak, but she pushed forward, determined. Every few minutes, John glanced over his shoulder, scanning for those red eyes in the dark. Nothing. But he could feel them. Watching. Waiting. Then, the smell hit him. Burnt metal. Charred wood. The acrid scent of something unnatural. They were close. Pushing through the last of the thick jungle, they finally saw it. The shipwreck. The spaceship had once been sleek, smooth, and futuristic. Now it was a shattered husk of twisted metal and shattered glass. It had crashed hard, cutting deep into the earth, leaving a long trail of scorched land behind it. Smoke still curled from its exposed core. Pieces of strange alien technology were scattered around like broken bones. The alien woman gasped softly at the sight of her ship. She whispered something in her language, her voice laced with pain. John didn't need to understand the words. This was her home, her last hope. And now, it was nothing but wreckage. She stumbled forward, almost running, her hands shaking as she reached for a torn open hatch. John followed, his grip tightening on his knife. Something felt wrong. The wreck was too quiet. No creatures, no movement, but the smell of blood was thick in the air. The horrifying truth. John stepped inside the ship, the alien woman right behind him. Inside, the walls were burned black, consoles shattered. The air was heavy with ash and something else, something metallic. The alien woman staggered toward a small compartment near the control panel. Her hands trembled as she pressed a button. A small hatch slid open. Inside was a small, glowing device. She let out a relieved breath and grabbed it. Her hands clutched it tightly, like it was the most important thing in the world. John watched in silence. Then, a sound. A soft scraping noise. Not from outside. From inside the ship. John's muscles tensed. His grip on the knife tightened. The alien woman heard it too. She froze, her glowing blue eyes darting toward the shadows at the back of the ship. John stepped forward cautiously, lifting his flashlight. The beam of light cut through the darkness. And then he saw it. A body. No, bodies. Twisted, broken, half-buried beneath the wreckage. They were not human. John's stomach twisted. These were her people. They had died on impact. Some were still strapped into their seats, their bodies burned and mangled. Others had tried to crawl away, only to collapse before making it out of the ship. John turned to the alien woman. She had fallen to her knees, staring at the bodies, her face pale. She wasn't just stranded. She was the only survivor. Then, the scraping noise came again. John snapped his head toward the far end of the ship. The metal shifted. Something moved beneath the wreckage. Not alone. John stepped back. His breath slowed. The alien woman was still frozen, her fingers gripping the glowing device so tightly her knuckles turned white. John grabbed her shoulder. "We need to go." She looked up, her eyes filled with shock, grief, and fear. But before she could move, the wreckage exploded outward. A shadow leaked from the darkness. John barely had time to react. The creature slammed into him, knocking him backward. It was one of them. One of the hunters. But this one was different. Larger, faster, smarter. Its black skin shimmered with an almost metallic sheen. Its glowing red eyes locked onto John's face, its mouth twisting into something that almost looked like a grin. John barely managed to lift his knife before it lunged again. He rolled, dodging just in time as the creature's claws slammed into the ground where he had been seconds before. The alien woman screamed something in her language. John didn't need to understand. This wasn't just a random monster. This was the thing that had hunted her. And it wasn't alone. From the shadows, more red eyes flickered to life. 1, 2, 5, 10. The jungle outside erupted with screeches. John's blood ran cold. They had walked into a trap. The creatures had been waiting. The monster in the jungle. John barely had time to think. The creature, taller than a man, its skin black like obsidian, its glowing red eyes locked onto him, let out a deep guttural growl. It wasn't just attacking. It was toying with him. And then it charged. John rolled to the side, just as razor-sharp claws slammed into the metal wreckage where he had been standing. Sparks flew as the impact dented the ship's hull. He didn't stop to admire the destruction. He scrambled backward, knife raised. The alien woman was breathing hard, still on her knees, her glowing blue eyes wide with shock. She had lost too much blood. She was still trying to process everything. She needed to move. John didn't hesitate. He grabbed her arm and yanked her to her feet. "Come on." She stumbled, barely keeping up. Behind them, the creature let out a piercing shriek, its red eyes burning like fire. More eyes flickered to life in the darkness. John's chest tightened. There were at least 10 of them now. They had walked into a trap. The hunt begins. John and the alien woman ran. They pushed through the jungle, dodging thick vines and fallen trees. The damp earth beneath their feet sank with every step, making it harder to move. The creatures were faster. They moved like shadows, leaping between trees, barely making a sound. Silent predators. John knew running wouldn't be enough. He needed a plan, or they were dead. The alien woman clutched her small glowing device, her breathing uneven. She tried pressing a button, but it flickered weakly and died. John clenched his jaw. No help was coming. Then, a flash of silver in the trees. A small clearing ahead. John spotted what looked like ruins. Old stone walls, half covered in vines. A place to hide. A death trap. No time to think. "Over there," John pointed. The alien woman followed, her steps uneven, her strength fading. They burst into the ruins, ducking behind a crumbling stone pillar just as the first creature leaked into the clearing. Face to face with the beast. For the first time, John saw it clearly. Its body was covered in black, armored plates, its limbs long and powerful, built for running and climbing. Its face was elongated, with rows of needle-like teeth glinting in the moonlight. Its eyes burned red, scanning the ruins. It let out a slow, deep growl, not a mindless snarl, but a warning. This thing was intelligent. It was hunting them for sport. John gritted his teeth. He could almost feel it smiling. Then it stepped forward. John's heart pounded. No escape. No time. The alien woman grabbed his wrist. Her fingers were cold, trembling. She whispered something. A single word. He didn't understand it. But he knew what it meant. Run. A desperate escape. The creature lunged. John threw himself sideways, pulling the alien woman with him just as claws tore through the stone pillar, sending shards of rock flying. The alien woman gasped in pain, gripping her leg. She couldn't run anymore. John's mind raced. Then, he saw it. A broken tree branch, sharp as a spear, lying on the ground nearby. He dived for it, just as the creature pounced again. John rolled onto his back and thrust the sharpened branch upward. The wood pierced the creature's shoulder, sinking deep into its thick hide. It screamed, a horrible metallic shriek that shook the air. John didn't waste time. He grabbed the alien woman, hauled her up, and ran. They pushed through the ruins, dodging falling debris, their bodies burning with exhaustion. Behind them, the creature ripped the branch from its flesh, snarling in fury. But they had gained time. John spotted a narrow tunnel between two stone walls, small enough that the creatures might not fit. "Go! Now!" he shouted. The alien woman stumbled through first. John followed, squeezing into the narrow passage. Behind them, the creature lunged. But slammed into the stone, too big to fit. It let out a rage-filled screech, clawing at the walls. They kept moving. The tunnel led downward, into the earth. The air grew damp and cold. John's breathing slowed. His arms shook. His knife was still in his grip, but he had no strength left to use it. The alien woman collapsed against the tunnel wall, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. John knelt beside her. "We need a plan." She didn't answer. Instead, she raised her small glowing device one last time. It flickered, then projected a hologram. John's stomach twisted as he saw what was on the screen. A recording, her ship's last moments before the crash. A warning message, flashing in alien text. Then, a brief image of something else. Something worse than the creatures. John's blood ran cold. They weren't just being hunted. They were being washed, trapped, and the aliens' secret. The tunnel was dark and damp, its walls rough with age. The air smelled of wet stone and decay, thick with the weight of time. John leaned against the cold rock, breathing heavily. His chest burned, his hands ached from gripping the knife too tight. The alien woman sat beside him, her body trembling, her blue blood still staining her torn suit. For a long moment, they just listened. The jungle above was silent. No movement, no growls. But they knew better. The creature hadn't given up. It was still out there, waiting. John turned his attention back to the alien woman. She was staring at the flickering hologram in her hands. He leaned closer. "What is that?" She looked at him, her glowing blue eyes filled with something he couldn't quite place. Fear, grief, or something worse. She pressed a button. The hologram shifted, revealing a recording. A brief, flickering image of her ship in space, moments before the crash. John's stomach tightened. This wasn't just a random accident. The ship was under attack. He could see red warning lights flashing, could hear the muffled shouts of other voices in her language. Then, a shadow. A dark shape, barely visible against the stars. Something massive. Then the ship shook violently. The footage cut to static. The alien woman clenched her jaw and tightened her grip on the device. John frowned. "You weren't just stranded here, were you?" She exhaled slowly. Then, for the first time, she spoke in his language. Her voice was soft, alien, but clear. Hunted. John's pulse spiked. She wasn't just a survivor. She was a fugitive. The truth about the creatures. John stared at her, his mind racing. "You're telling me those things. They weren't just hunting you for food." She hesitated, then shook her head. John cursed under his breath. So, the creatures weren't just animals. They were sent by someone. Something bigger was at play. And worse, whoever wanted her dead knew where she was. John clenched his fists. He had just barely survived an attack from one of those monsters. If there were more coming, "We need to get off this island," he said. The alien woman looked away, her expression dark. John narrowed his eyes. "What aren't you telling me?" She hesitated. Then, slowly, she raised her device again. This time, the hologram showed something different. Not her ship. Not the creatures. Something else. John felt a cold chill crawl up his spine. The image showed the sky. A massive, shadowy vessel loomed above the planet. John felt his throat go dry. This wasn't her ship. It was something far bigger. And it was still watching. The ruins and the forgotten technology. John forced himself to focus. Right now, they were trapped underground. But there had to be a way out. He scanned the tunnel. The walls were old, covered in deep carvings, not just random scratches, but patterns. John reached out, brushing away the dust. Beneath the grime, he could make out symbols. Strange, twisting letters. Not human. Not hers, either. These ruins were older than both of them. John glanced at the alien woman. "This place. You knew it was here, didn't you?" She didn't answer right away. Then she nodded. John let out a slow breath. "What is this place?" She hesitated again, then pressed a hand against the wall. A low, rumbling vibration shook the tunnel. John stepped back as the symbols began to glow. Then, a doorway slid open. Beyond it, the tunnel descended into darkness. John stared. This wasn't just a cave. This was a structure, a facility, and something down there was still active. The alien woman turned to him, her expression grim. "We go," she said. John swallowed hard. He had a bad feeling about this. But he nodded. Together, they stepped into the unknown. The final stand. The doorway slid open with a low, grinding sound, revealing a deep passageway leading underground. A cold gust of air swept past them, thick with the scent of old metal and something ancient. John tightened his grip on his knife. The alien woman hesitated, glancing at him. Her glowing blue eyes flickered with uncertainty. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she stepped forward. John exhaled, shaking off his doubts, and followed her into the unknown. The descent into the facility. The walls of the tunnel were smooth, not natural stone, but something crafted. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the edges, pulsing like a heartbeat. John brushed his fingers against them. Cold. Metallic. "This place," he murmured. The alien woman glanced at him. "Old," she said. John raised an eyebrow. That was the most she had spoken in English so far. He nodded. Old was an understatement. They kept walking. The tunnel sloped downward, leading them deeper into a hidden structure beneath the island. Suddenly, a soft hum. John froze. His heart pounded. The sound was coming from below. The alien woman lifted her glowing device, scanning the passage ahead. A faint blue light flickered at the end of the tunnel. Then, the wall beside them shifted. John reacted instantly, raising his knife. But it wasn't an enemy. It was a holographic projection, a distorted, flickering recording. The image of a tall, slender alien appeared, its features obscured by static. Its voice was soft, distant, like an echo from the past. John couldn't understand the language. But the alien woman stiffened. She understood. Her breathing grew shaky. John frowned. "What is it?" She swallowed hard. Then she whispered one word. "Warning." The Forgotten War. John's stomach tightened. Warning? Warning about what? The hologram flickered, showing images of battle, ships clashing in space, planets burning, cities crumbling beneath the weight of massive alien war machines. Then, a familiar shape. A dark, massive vessel. its silhouette eerily similar to the one she had shown him in the hologram earlier. John felt a cold chill. The ship wasn't just watching them. It had been here before. The alien woman gritted her teeth. This place. Last stand. John's pulse spiked. She turned to him, her expression grim. War, long ago. Lost. John exhaled sharply. So this was a bunker. A last stand against whatever's up there. She nodded slowly. John clenched his jaw. His mind raced. If this place was a last stand, that meant there had to be weapons here. The enemy approaches. Before John could ask another question, a deep vibration rumbled through the tunnel. The symbols on the walls flashed red. A loud mechanical screech echoed through the underground chamber. John's blood ran cold. The creatures had found them. He grabbed the alien woman's arm. We need to move. She didn't argue. They ran. The passage opened into a large chamber, filled with strange, ancient machines. Some were still glowing faintly, others long dead and broken. But at the center of the room, something caught John's eye. A pod, partially buried in debris. Unlike the rest of the ruins, it looked functional. John sprinted toward it, kicking away rubble. The alien woman's eyes widened as she saw what it was. A weapon storage unit. John didn't waste time. He ripped open the control panel. Inside, two sleek, alien rifles rested in a protective casing. John grabbed one. It was lighter than he expected, but charged with a faint blue glow. He tossed the second one to her. Hope you know how to use this. She caught it, her grip steady. Outside, the screeching grew louder. Then, boom. The wall exploded, sending dust and debris flying. Through the smoke, shadows emerged. Glowing red eyes filled the entrance. The creatures had come, and they were not alone. Something larger moved behind them. John's hands tightened around the alien weapon. The alien woman raised hers, her expression cold, determined. No more running. This was the final stand. The battle begins. The first creature lunged. John fired. A pulse of blue energy erupted from the rifle, striking the creature's chest. It howled in agony, its black skin cracking and burning as it collapsed. The alien woman moved with unnatural speed, firing rapid bursts of energy. Each shot cut through the enemy, sending them shrieking into the dark. But more were pouring in. John ducked as claws slashed at his head, rolling behind a pillar. He popped up and fired again, taking down another beast. One of the larger ones roared, its red eyes glowing like fire. It charged. John aimed, but the gun beeped. Out of charge. His stomach dropped. The creature was too fast. Then, a flash of silver. The alien woman leaped forward, swinging the weapon like a club, smashing the creature's jaw. John didn't waste the chance. He grabbed a broken metal pipe from the floor and drove it into the creature's side. It shrieked, stumbling backward. But then, another explosion. The ceiling cracked. John's breath caught. The whole facility was collapsing. The alien woman turned to him. Urgent. Desperate. Ship. Must go. Now. John clenched his jaw. Damn it. He grabbed her hand, and they ran. The final escape. The chamber shook violently as they sprinted toward an old maintenance shaft. The creatures roared behind them, but the collapsing ruins slowed them down. John reached the shaft first. It was narrow, but it led upward. The alien woman climbed first. John followed, his arms burning as he pulled himself up. Above them, moonlight shone through a broken grate. They were almost out. Then, a deafening roar. John looked down. One of the creatures, bigger than all the others, was climbing after them. It was fast. John gritted his teeth. No time. As they reached the top, he did the only thing he could. He kicked the grate open and grabbed a grenade from the fallen weapon spot. The alien woman's eyes widened. Joan. He pulled the pin and dropped it. The creature let out one final roar. Boom! The shaft erupted in fire, sending dust and debris skyward. John and the alien woman burst onto the surface, gasping for air. The underground facility collapsed beneath them. The creatures, gone. For now. John rolled onto his back, staring at the starry sky. The alien woman looked at him, breathing hard. Then she smiled. "You fight good." John laughed. Exhausted, relieved. But he knew this wasn't over. Above them, in the sky, the massive shadow of the alien ship still lingered, watching, waiting, rescue or betrayal. The big twist. The night sky stretched endlessly above them, a canvas of stars and darkness. The jungle was silent now, except for the occasional crackle of fire from the collapsed ruins below. John lay flat on his back, sucking in deep, ragged breaths. His body ached, bruised from the fight, from the chase, from the hell they had just survived. Beside him, the alien woman sat up, her glowing blue eyes scanning the horizon. Her silver-tinted skin was streaked with dirt, her battle-worn suit torn in places, revealing deep wounds that still pulsed with faint blue light. But she was alive. They both were. For now, above them, the massive alien vessel still loomed, an enormous shadow in the sky. Unmoving, silent, watching. John's stomach twisted. They had fought tooth and nail to escape the creatures, to survive the jungle, to make it out of that damned underground facility. But now, the real question remained. Was she really saved? Or was she about to be taken back to her death? The arrival. A sudden, low humming sound filled the air. John sat up instantly, every muscle in his body tensing. He grabbed his knife, even though he knew it wouldn't do much against whatever was coming. The alien woman, however, didn't flinch. She just stared upward, her expression unreadable. A beam of blue light shot down from the massive ship above. For a moment, John thought it was a weapon, that they were about to be vaporized on the spot. Instead, the air shimmered. And then, a sleek, triangular craft descended from the sky. Its black metallic surface gleamed under the moonlight, smooth and sharp, like a predator gliding through the air. It came to a silent stop, hovering just a few feet above the ground. Then, a hatch opened. John held his breath. Two figures stepped out. Aliens. They looked like her, but taller. Their suits were pristine, polished, armored, unlike hers, which was damaged and torn from battle. Their faces were sharp, unreadable, their glowing blue eyes cold and distant. John could feel it already. They weren't here for him. They were here for her. And he wasn't sure if that was a good thing. The choice. The taller of the two aliens stepped forward, looking at the woman. He spoke in their language, his voice calm but firm. She stiffened. John didn't understand the words, but he understood her reaction. She looked hesitant, afraid. The alien man gestured to the ship. He spoke again, slower this time, his voice measured, careful. John watched as she clenched her fists. Her body was rigid, her breathing shallow. Something was wrong. John stepped forward. "Hey, what's going on?" The second alien turned to him, for the first time acknowledging he existed. And when he spoke, John felt ice creep up his spine. His voice was perfect, smooth, human-like. No further human interference is required. John blinked. He spoke English. The alien turned his glowing eyes toward the woman. "She will come with us now." John's jaw tightened. He looked at her. She wasn't moving. She wasn't answering. She was frozen in place. John took a step closer to her, lowering his voice. "Do you want to go?" She didn't answer. The taller alien spoke sharply in their language. She flinched, and John saw it in her eyes. Fear. Something snapped inside him. "No." John shook his head. "This isn't right." The second alien's eyes narrowed. "She belongs with her people." John clenched his fists. Then why does she look terrified? The alien man took a slow step forward. You are human. You do not understand. John didn't care. He turned to her, his voice urgent. If you want to stay, you don't have to go. She still didn't answer, but her fingers twitched. Then, ever so slightly, she reached toward him. John's stomach dropped. She was asking for help. Betrayal in the air. The first alien saw it too. His eyes flashed. And then, everything happened at once. John moved. The alien guards moved. The woman turned, too late. The taller alien struck her in the stomach, sending her crashing to the ground. John's vision went red. He charged. The alien guard saw it coming, but John was faster. He ducked low, grabbed a broken piece of metal from the ground, and swung it straight into the alien's side. The alien let out a sharp grunt, stumbling back. John didn't stop. He grabbed the alien woman's arm and yanked her up. She gasped, her eyes wide with shock. John didn't give her time to react. Run. She ran. The aliens roared in fury. The second one raised his hand, and suddenly, John couldn't move. A pressure locked his body in place, like an invisible force had wrapped around him. His arms froze in midair, his legs unable to move. The alien woman skidded to a stop, and then turned back, her eyes wide with panic. John struggled, fought, but it was useless. The taller alien stepped toward him, his expression unreadable. You were never meant to be involved. John's head pounded. The pressure around him tightened. His lungs screamed for air. He was going to die. Then, a flash of blue light. The alien woman lifted her hand. A pulse of energy exploded outward. John was thrown backward as the alien guards were blasted off their feet. The invisible force holding him vanished. John hit the ground hard, coughing. The alien woman grabbed him. Go. He didn't argue. They ran. A daring escape. The triangular ship behind them whirred to life. The aliens were recovering fast. John's mind raced. No weapons. No backup. No way off the island. Then the alien woman shouted something, and suddenly, her glowing device beeped. A faint, distorted message played. And then, John heard it. Engines. Above them, in the sky, something else was coming. A different ship. The alien woman's eyes lit up. She grabbed John's arm. Trust me. John exhaled, still catching his breath. He looked back one last time. The alien guards were recovering fast. They weren't done. This wasn't over. But as the new ship's lights shone down on them, John knew one thing. They had one chance to escape, and he wasn't about to let it slip. He grabbed her hand. Let's go.